Excellent. Thank you. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the March 19th, 2025 Northampton Urban Forestry Commission meeting. Um, I have just a couple of things. The passcode issue that we all had to log into, we will not have that. Hopefully, we will not have that passcode issue again. That's been resolved. I just needed to do some adjustments on my end. I didn't want to do it before this meeting in case I broke something. So, but that'll be resolved. If you know anyone in the public that is texting you that may want to come into the meeting, please give them the passcode. Um, but I haven't heard from anyone. So, and that's the only housekeeping. Oh, the other thing too is I'm at home at the I have two dogs running around here, so if they start barking, I apologize. I can't control that. So, all right. Um, okay. Public comment period. Kent, you're almost a commissioner, but you're almost a commish. Do you have any public
Oh,
comment?
I think I have to last through a couple more cycles of city council meetings or something.
Really?
Um, I do have a comment. The group that's interested in a Miyawaki forest was looking at some sites yesterday or a few days ago and happened on a little triangle that's kind of between the parking lot at the dog park and Birds Pit Road. There's like a between Birds Pit Road, there's like an access road that goes between the parking and the community garden that's just like wasteland and kind of caught our interest. We were looking at Ellerbrook Field and came back and it's like, what about this? And I guess Rich, be interested in getting your thoughts about it at some point. I don't know if it's really commission business, although there are some trees that look like they were, city planted trees. So I guess maybe it's in the right of way to some extent, the site, which probably would make it business of the commission or certainly business of yours. Uh, anyway, that's all I have to say.
Is it where Laurel Street comes in there?
No, it's well, it really is a triangle between there's an access road between that parking lot and the community garden that comes in, it really is across from the entrance to Ellerbrook Field. And there's yeah, a couple of trees that were planted. I forget, I could look up the date, but they're pretty clearly right-of-way trees that we planted. And there's one large tree there, an existing tree, but it's just a space, it's like probably, 30 by 40 feet or something. And it's waste, there's just nothing growing there but brambles and low brush. And it'd be kind of a nice screen between Birds Pit Road and the parking to some extent, at least for kind of outbound traffic. And it's a place where people go. We were looking at the Ellerbrook Field and the Industrial Park Drive Circle, and they're just kind of isolated. We want to find a place where people will actually see it for reasons other than going to see the Miyawaki Forest, that are destinations already, so that people will see it and be interested. And this is, a high traffic location because it gets people going to the community gardens, it gets people going to the walking trails, and it gets just people driving by on Birds Pit Road. So it was interesting from that point of view. It seems to be owned by what people call Smith Folk Land, but it's actually owned by, I think, UMass Department of Agriculture and leased to Smith Folk. So the ownership issues might be a little bit complicated to figure out, like who actually to talk to get permission to plant there. I see Molly and Sue both have their hands up, so I should probably stop talking and see what they have to say.
Molly, go first.
If I'm thinking of the same place that you're describing, um, it's between Birds Pit Road and a road that's kind of parallel to it that goes behind the community garden
Yes,
over to the parking lot.
Yes,
but it's to the west of the little road that separates the community garden from the,
that's
um,
right.
okay, that area, I know, it might be a great site, but it is, I know, when they have races there, road races, both, I mean, not road races, like running races. The Northampton High School uses those dog paths for their home course. So sometimes they have meets there. And also they have there's a running club that has like weekly meets there. And the finish line is right there, is right at that corner. So sometimes there's like people who gather there and, you know, tables and things like that in that
Yeah.
area. If, you know, I'm just saying that there's another use of that area too that I'm not sure how it would be affected by a forest there.
Yeah, okay. It does, it just got a lot of brambles and high grass. So
Hmm.
it doesn't look like it's had much traffic.
Hmm.
It's certainly not vehicle traffic. I don't think people park there. Um,
I
but
think you're
anyway,
right,
thank
Ken.
you.
I think what Molly's talking about, they set up more along the road and towards in further from Bird's Pit.
There's a big open area on the other side of the parking lot that we thought about also, and that's grassy, and I would imagine they probably use that space for a race, but this space really looked very unloved
Hmm.
and available for somebody to do something nice.
There
Hmm.
are some baby trees in there. I know you're gonna if you get further along with who owns it and if you can do it, water is a concern there, I know.
Yeah, we're thinking we would look into getting water from the community garden. Is I think the closest spot.
Yeah, that's I don't know how that works.
No, neither do we.
I know the little trees there, a volunteer goes and waters them, but not with community garden water.
I just have just a quick comment. Kent, do you envision that at some point, the folks that want to actually potentially start the Milwaukee Forest locations will be coming to the commission?
Um,
And I know this is not really on the agenda, but you've kind of piqued my interest.
yeah, if you like, I mean, if this place gets into the right of way, then I think we probably have to. Um, I haven't gotten a strong sense that the commission was really interested in getting involved. Um, so happy to take your guidance on whether you think we should.
Okay, maybe you and I could just talk offline just about it and sort of
Sure.
fill me in um, where you were at or how far you've gotten, and then maybe we could put it on an agenda for a commission meeting just to toss around to see if there's something that we could, if it's going to intersect with public property or intersect with school property or intersect with some place that we may also want to plant trees. We just want to make sure that we are just all working in unison. That's all.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely. I think the right of way is the only property that would be in that category.
Okay. Perfect.
We're pretty far from where the city property starts.
Okay.
And it's just within that, Smith Oak parcel.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
The minutes were sent out. If the commissioners have a chance to review them. Molly has not. Okay.
I
Well,
have.
all right. Thank you, David. Just whenever you're ready to make a motion or make
I'll
some.
let you know. I'll let you know when I
Yeah,
read
it's
them.
fine. Take your time.
Okay. Okay, I'm done.
I'm all set.
I have a question while people are just finishing that. Rich, where can we find the draft of the STO that we're supposed to be reviewing? I looked in the folder on our Google Drive, but I couldn't see it.
It's in there. It's just buried under multiple iterations. So I will send you, I'll send the commissioners a direct link to it
Oh, good.
in an
Okay.
email so you can sort of search. There's so many drafts that
I know.
I have multiple folders. So,
There's a folder that says STO, but when I looked in it, it seemed like the only ones that were in there were really old.
well, we've been talking about this ordinance for a while,
Really
so
old.
it might be old. So,
Might
It's
be.
been 2.5 years since the commission approved the last draft.
All right, then I must have been looking at the right ones.
yeah, I will put that on my list to get done today or tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Everybody else
set?
done
Yeah,
reading?
I think we're waiting for Rich. Rich Parrish is done. Okay. Could I get a motion to accept the minutes as presented, please?
So
I
moved.
I have a slight amendment.
Uh, okay. Go
Isn't
ahead.
this the time that we do that?
Sure, you can do it now. Or you can do it during the discussion. It's
Oh,
fine.
sorry. I'll wait.
Don't worry about it. It's all good because if there's an amendment, we want to make sure that that gets captured. So go ahead, please.
Okay. The first section under the chair and tree warden report, the last bullet, it says seedlings have been ordered. And I think it needs to be either, and later in the minutes, it's referred to as tree whips. So we should either, like,
Yep.
I think we need to call them the same thing.
Yep.
So seedling trees or tree whips, I don't know if they're really seedling trees. Like, because seedlings in my world are like little baby plants,
Yeah,
that you get in a greenhouse. So,
unfortunately interchangeable, but yes, I think tree whips would be
okay,
more appropriate. So if Bonnie, you could make that
that's
adjustment.
the only thing.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so could we get a motion to accept the minutes as amended?
So moved.
I have a second, please.
Second,
Excellent. There is a motion to approve the minutes as amended, and there's a second. Is there any discussion? No discussion. Okay, Bonnie, could I have a roll call vote, please?
Sure. Rich Parasolidi,
That's a yes.
Susan,
Yes.
Molly,
yes.
Jen,
Yes,
David,
Yes.
and Richard.
Yes.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Bonnie. Moving on to the chair report. I really don't have, most of the things I want to talk about are coming at the end of the meeting, under the Arbor Day Spring Planting and Setback Initiative bullet. So I actually would like to yield the floor to our guest. I sort of wanted a little bit of an introduction. So Erica, I've known Erica for, let's see, Erica, when did I meet you? I met you in Portland, Maine. You were walking around randomly looking at trees during an ISA conference. And Erica and I have been friends ever since. And Erica has had multiple positions throughout the greater Boston area. She presently works for the city of Lynn as their urban forest fellow. One of the reasons I wanted to have Erica come today to talk to us is because unfortunately, the city of Lynn is one of the affected communities with the reduction in the IRA funding for their urban forestry program. So Erica can explain to you a little bit about that. I wanted her to talk about it, but I also wanted to just for us to sort of just take a step back and sort of kind of think about where we started 10, 12 years ago and where we are today. And that there are a lot of other communities that are out there that are like Lynn and many others that are trying to actually sort of replicate what we've done here in their own way. And I think it's important for us to not to lose sight of that. But it's also important for Erica, I think, to get her message out, in essence, to memorialize things that she has accomplished with the other stakeholders in Lynn. So I just thought it would be great to sort of have a dialogue. She has a little presentation, and we have time for Q&A. So Erica, please.
And I'm gonna stick right to my time. So I've got a little timer set up, and thank you so much, everyone, for having me. I've been really inspired by what Rich has done and just the effective way he's been able to help not just Northampton, but pretty much every municipality in the Commonwealth with his actions and his leadership. So I'm very happy to be here and meet all of you. I would love to like spend the whole time just learning more about you, but maybe we can do that in the future. And I'll just try to share my presentation. I am a little bit technologically, you'd expect millennial to be really good, but let me know if I do this successfully and if you're seeing this urban forester ecologist arborist slide. My plan basically with these slides is to give some presentation material. It's actually my tree committee meeting for tomorrow night, so you guys can be my pre-tree committee if you want for a day. And it also has a little bit of some of the slides just about me, just because I felt like sharing that. So let me just do a slideshow right from the beginning. And everyone can see this. Is that confirmed? Yes. Okay. So, hi, I'm Erica. I am an arborist. I'm ISA certified. I'm tree risk assessment qualified. I'm on track to become a tree warden in the state of Massachusetts. And I'm really grateful for all the mentors at Mass Tree Wardens, including Rich, and others on the executive board, which I just joined this January. So I'm kind of coming at urban forestry with everything that I've got, but we all start somewhere, right? So you all started as commissioners on this commission at some point. You all have, I'm sure, like very accomplished, wonderful careers and things that you work on of your own. This is a little bit of my background of how I got to where I'm at. So I went to the University of New Hampshire. I studied wildlife for a long time. I consulted on the side through contracts to basically survive through grad school where I was not paid in my third year. And then I went to the Emerald Necklace Conservancy where I started managing about 10,000. It was 9,116 trees in their tree inventory, to be exact. And got that tree inventory into shape and started getting some pruning done, some heritage tree work, really anything, fixing a four-pipe boiler system in a historic home, you know, whatever we need done. And then I went to Mass Audubon. I was their statewide urban ecologist. So I think I might actually have heard some of your names before, just in terms of like Mass Audubon being across the state. Some of you may be members, some of you may be familiar with them. Thank you for that. And now I climb trees and I work for tree service on the weekends and I work for the city of Lynn full time and I have my own consulting business that I just started like last week. So we're just really going for it. It's uncertain times, but you can see on this that I did graduate from a Bachelor's of Science in, you guessed it, the year 2016. So this is not my first round of seeing members of my scientific community being influenced by federal administration changes and really seeing like kind of the effects of that. So just a little, I like to include a little bit about myself so that people can get a feel for me. I'm 30, so I officially made it into the full-on adult category, which is fantastic. And I started this Lynn Tree Committee, which I'm really proud of. So the city of Lynn, you may know the saying about the city of Lynn. We're not going to chant it out right now, but the city of Lynn has quite a reputation in the state. We have over 100,000 people who live here, many of whom are new Americans, many of whom are not English language speakers as their first language, and mostly all of whom are absolute sweethearts. I have been received so warmly coming from 5 years in Boston, coming to Lynn. I was so well received. The community here really asked for this USDA Forest Service grant to be applied for. So my boss, Lauren, she's the associate planner and the principal planner here in Lynn, Erin Clausen. They actually put in an application for $550,000. That pays for 3 years of my full salary. That pays for 150 new trees planted in the public right of way. That pays for a youth program that was going to have 25 Lynn Public High School students be able to receive direct mentorship from me. That will come back around. And that would also include other things like a sustainability plan to make sure the plan got implemented. So it was quite a big endeavor. It was done in a very unique way because not all of these grants involved a person. We have had our contract terminated. So these slides, I received a constituent request from someone in Lynn to cover the loss of funding this week. So tomorrow I will be presenting these slides. And this is exactly the slides I usually give. So for people who haven't been joining our tree committee meetings, I like to give background. That'll be great for this group since we haven't had a tree committee meeting with y'all before. And this is usually my setup. It's mostly public discussion. We are not a voting seated commission. We are a public advisory group to the urban forest plan creation process. That means anyone can come and tell us what they think, and then I would write it into our urban forest plan. That's not something that I see a lot of other cities doing, and it could have some big drawbacks in the future, but it's really my style to be like, everyone's voice matters in this. Whether you love trees, you hate trees, I want to know what the city of Lynn needs in its urban forest plan. This would be its first one. We have no complete tree inventory. We have no tree canopy assessment. But I'm very good with data, so you'll see some stuff later. So this is where we're at. We're on our 7th Lynn Tree Committee meeting. We have over 100 people on our email list for the meetings, so they have the opportunity to join on Zoom. We have a YouTube where we post the recordings of all of our meetings. So if you are from Lynn and you suddenly get interested or you know someone who would be interested, they can catch up and join us. We tell them what a tree committee is, and we kind of define where we are, what we're planning to discuss in future meetings. Now, the change for this slide for this week is that my position is secured in the city of Lynn through the end of May. That is a decision that was made by the planning department to take city funds and appropriate them to cover my salary through that time. That's a big decision. That's about $25,000 that they moved over to make sure that I could stay here through Arbor Day and make sure that we follow through on some of our promises to our constituents. So I'm really grateful for that. I think it also speaks to what I've been able to accomplish here in just 9 months. Our mission as a committee, not commission, you guys are the commission, we're the committee. Our mission is to preserve, protect, and promote the city of Lynn's urban forest. This is a sugar maple in a park, in a playground in Lynn that I'm working to protect. We have no tree ordinance, and our tree warden is a very, very part-time additional stipended position to another staff person who has a full-time role in a different department. So that's our setup in Lynn. I'm not the tree warden, just to be clear, I'm the urban forestry fellow. And we wanted to engage residents from all the neighborhoods in urban forestry, not just people who like trees or people who know about trees, or just people who don't know about trees. We want the people who like trees and know about trees to be there too. So everybody. So here's my updates I'm gonna give. I'm gonna just leave this slide for a long time. This year I did go through all of our files and apply for our 35th year as a Tree City USA, and we applied for our first growth award. So we will be trying to really get the word out there that we've done a lot and try to increase the investment in urban forestry in this city. The rest of this is kind of an ugly chart, but you can see in red, our contract was terminated. This is not a funding freeze. This is a contract termination. So you might have heard on NPR, the $75 million across the United States that was terminated and lost for planting programs. My program was the program in Massachusetts that was part of that. So that's why I'm grateful to Rich for giving me the platform to speak, because I do think this program so far has been our biggest urban and community forestry cut that we know about that we have fully confirmed. So there have been other impacts. There have been people whose positions were terminated immediately at the end of February. So with a lot of respect and support for those professionals who I know and care about deeply, this is not the only cut we're seeing. It's just one that I know a lot about. So I want to keep people updated. So we had made it about $85,000 through our expenditures on that, including my time, the fall 2024 planting season. and some other stuff that we got done. But basically, the headline is that we lost it's 490,000 because we haven't been reimbursed for $20,000 that we have put in for. But we're going to cross our fingers and hope we get that 20,000. So the ultimate loss would be $470,000 to the city of Lynn. And, that's not a loss to, I mean, it's a loss to me personally. Obviously, I care very much about this program, but it's really a loss to the constituents who voted for that appropriation. They don't, in my personal opinion, they don't really deserve to have this money taken away from them. So that it's a little bit of a personal touch, but it's not about me as an urban forester. It's about the city's residents and what they wanted to happen in their community. We do have two other grants, so we're really excited to be working on our implementation grant. We have about $124,000 to prepare 80 tree pits, and then the DCR Greening the Gateway Cities program is going to plant these 110 trees. So that's what I come in to work, and like kind of the phone's ringing, both phones up all day, trying to make sure people are happy and that they're getting their tree requests fulfilled, that we're preparing the right pits, that the DPW, which is pretty under-resourced here, that they have what they need to kind of carry out the mapping and the communication side. And then we did have Jim MacArthur, who's also another Mass Tree Warden board member. He completed our a little survey to look for the worst of the worst in Lynn, and we came up with 205 trees that he thought were trees of concern. We have one tree crew in-house in Lynn. That tree crew works all the overtime that they possibly could. And it's not enough to really get the dead trees out. I was telling Rich when I first joined the call, about an hour ago, I was out on a street with a constituent and I was looking through a tree, complete hole all the way through the tree, daylight coming out the other side. And we had electrical in above. So we really need to address that so that we don't have other safety concerns in our community. So it was good to get those identified, but basically the picture I'm trying to point is that we have a huge need in Lynn. And with a city of over 100,000 people, a coastal city, a city that has mainly kind of busted up Norway maples underneath power lines, that's our most common occurrence. We need to keep those trees because of the shade. We have a very intense urban heat island effect here. I can show you guys the map that if you're interested a little bit later. We need urban forestry here, and we were very disappointed that this contract was terminated. So what was the grant, right? That's probably what you guys are wondering. What did we actually lose? This pretty much shows that these green dots were the trees I was able to plant in fall 2024. We did that with programs like Roca Inc., the kids who are, it helps kids who might be court involved, who might be kind of in this kind of gun violence type of situation. They get to come out and kind of do some good in the community with us through the Roca program. So they helped plant these. This is an interactive web map. I put this together. I'm very good with GIS, so I'm able to map this. The yellow area were formerly the census tracts I was going to be planting trees in. These are where our urban heat islands are, and this is where the bulk of our community lives. You may be noticing, well, you've got trees, you've got the Lynn Woods, right? We had a 440-acre wildfire last fall in these woods. It was one of the biggest ones that the state was dealing with. It was not bigger or longer lasting than Middleton's or some of the other communities, but it was a very significant event. And I'm very grateful for our fire department that we didn't lose any buildings or lose any people in this fire, but that'll come up later. Basically, like what I was here to do was this scope of work. The workforce development program probably being my baby out of this, even though the trees are also each very important. You can see that I worked for about 20% of the time that I was supposed to be here serving the community. Here's the portal. I'll send you this PDF so you can click on the links. I'm not an IT wizard. I'm very good at GIS. I'm not an IT wizard, so I can't quite figure out how to get the thing that asks you to sign in to go away. But I did figure out that if you clicked this link in this PDF, if you hit cancel twice, you can get into the platform. So that's a good enough solution for now. We'll carry on with that. So we'll maybe have Rich, you could send this out or something. Yeah, I put that multiple times so that people really know. Yeah, just hit cancel twice and then you'll be in. They can zoom in on the tree. It's got a picture of the tree. It has what species it is, the size, what type of stock it was when we planted it. I mean, we're really trying to do this thing right. And I had a lot of fun personally. So selfishly, I mean, I just had a great time, right? So this picture up in the top right, that's me and Pam Chambers. She lives right next to this street tree. I begged for this Ford F550 to carry around my bare root trees in, and we planted 32 trees. This tulip tree, I was here for about 2.5 hours, hand chopping a stump out of this tree pit to plant this tree. And someone walked by and they said, I don't want to tell you how to do your job, but you should probably walk away from this. And my response was, yeah, I think anybody else really would. And to have a nice day and very value all my constituents and their opinions. And I still won't back away from planting a tulip tree, though. That's my favorite species of tree. Pam was very happy. This was actually the day after the federal election, and I'm not making any political statement, but it was a very good day to be planting a tree for me and Pam. And Pam expressed that she was very happy that that was the day that I did that. So these are other trees, we have some street tree strips like this one on Atlantic Street, but most of what we're looking at is actually this is a brand new tree pit. This would be considered a very large tree pit for the city of Lynn. We have tree pits that are 2.5 feet by 2.5 feet surface opening, and that is very, very common in our city. And we don't have 9-foot sidewalks. We have sidewalks that mainly look like this, usually with the house right up to the sidewalk. So finding space for trees can be a bit hard. And then this picture down in the bottom right, that was our Liberty Tree Day. So I'm such a nut about trees that I decided I was going to try to get us a second Arbor Day every year. Unfortunately, Liberty Tree Day is August 14th, which is outside of the proper tree planting season, but I watered this thing quite frequently to try to get our American elm. This is a New Harmony elm, so a Dutch elm resistant but still American elm species. We wanted to try that and see what we could do in our Lynn Common, where we do have actually survivor elms, which is very cool. We have a 29.5-inch survivor elm out there, which is nice. This is something I put up. I haven't gotten a ton of traction on this, to be honest, but this is for people to share stories about trees in Lynn that whether they liked the tree or hated the tree. I think this has to do more with our website than anything, and just how many people is this QR code getting in front of? It's not that many. So, but I like this, and every time I get a story, I get really excited. So that's great. I may have submitted one of my own, but that's okay. That's allowed, right? Um, how am I on time? Let's do a little time check before I talk about this. Oh, I never actually started my timer. Great. Rich, how do you think I'm doing on time? Good? Okay, just keep going. So we started stump grinding and preparing. You can see our tree requests and our implementation is spread out across 13.5, is it square miles? Yeah. It's not acres, it's square miles. So we got 13.5 square miles that we're dealing with here. The yellow area was the area I was working in. The purple area is actually the DCR Greening the Gateway Cities planting zone. So you can see that they've determined that these areas are under canopied as well. And then didn't I mention something about the Linwoods? Yeah, it's just a really big belief of mine that just because we have this 2,200 acre reservation, that's not enough because the people who live down here, that takes 30 minutes driving in your car to get up here. And that's on a really good low traffic day. This is not a space that is accessible to all of our residents, especially our most vulnerable residents. And, we really don't see this as enough. And this area has a lot of needs itself. So, here's some things I've been working on. The green is the new stuff for the committee. I've really been supporting this project. We need to spend down this is the $124,000 project. We need to spend that by June 30th. So that's what we're going to do. And then here's some of our 108 new tree planting requests that we have that we can't fulfill because we don't have any funding for it. It's really disheartening to see people calling 4 and 5 times to get their tree planted. The stump grinding's been completed before, and there's just no way to do it. I very frequently get constituents who say, well, can I buy my own tree and plant that? And unfortunately, a lot of times we're getting silver maples planted under wires. We're getting pears as the only selection because they're going to Home Depot. People with the best of intentions, really, and I really respect it. I really do respect it. Unfortunately, I can't encourage them to plant their own tree. We do not have like a revolving fund or some mechanism for people to give money into the city. So we are currently pivoting from losing our grant and putting scopes of work for tree planting in front of private foundations. A very interesting one that we've been talking to is the Essex County Community Foundation. They're interested in systematic philanthropy, which I had never heard that term before. I'm an arborist. I'm not like I don't know, a bunny person, but we are doing everything we can to try to find funders for this work. I was talking with the state EEA just the other day to say, hey, with a new implementation grant, like, could you fund, trees plus like my time to be here to work on this? But yeah, we're looking everywhere we can, and the Arbor Day Foundation was our pass-through partner. We have also applied to them with, I think, 3 different scopes of work for this spring, which would be an incredible turnaround if we actually got funded for this spring. And then we have a fall 2025 and a spring 2026 plan to plant 50 trees each year, and we're just putting that out in front of anyone who will take a look at it. I do like to explain the process for planting seasons to folks every time that we meet, actually, because I think a lot of times this is folks' main question, and they don't necessarily connect like why you would need to have an arborist or why you would want to have, some urban foresters around, why you can't just like kind of show up with a tree and plant it. And that has to do with state laws, local laws, and it also has to do with long-term success. So, you can plant as many trees as you want. You can plant 1 million trees, you can plant 1 billion trees. How many of them survive to produce canopy that's going to mitigate the urban heat island effect? That's what we want to think about. So here's my pitches. I know this is probably the ugliest pitch slide you've ever seen. It may be the ugliest pitch slide you will ever see. It may be entirely too small to read, but it exists. So, this is just putting it all right out there. This is how I do it. I sit in front of Excel and I say, how much could I, or how little could I get a B&B tree installed to cost through begging and, who's out there that's an arborist that could donate me a day of crew labor? Who's out there that might have a machine? Because I don't have a machine. So it's like, I need to, if I'm doing a B&B tree, I need to have some help. And I am quite I actually like doing that because usually I do find someone who comes through and then it's a real save the day scenario, which we always like to see a story like that. So this Arbor Day we're going to submit that tonight actually to the New England chapter of ISA for $1,000 to plant a tree at the Bennett Street School, which is a preschool, which is 100% blacktop. You look at our schools in Lynn, it's all asphalt. There's no trees in our schoolyards. It's really it's striking. It's something you feel immediately when you get out there. So we just had a great meeting with our DPW superintendent of the school and one of the teachers from there. We're going to get about 100 preschool kids out to sing a song. We're going to give away 200 Professor Pricklethorn coloring books. I'm going to try to get some mass tree warden seedlings. I'm going to try to bring donuts. You'll know about me. There's always going to be donuts at my tree plantings, whether they're there, whether they just appear out of thin air or what. And then I like to do custom arborwear t-shirts. Now, what's the deal with the t-shirts? That's something that people really ask me. I did an Arbor Day at the Boston Nature Center in Boston last year, and I got arborwear t-shirts, and I asked for the sizes of the tree crews who were donating their time. I asked the sizes, did a little design just in Canva. It took me 5 minutes. The arborwear order was a little bit trickier to do than that. But those arborists really appreciated that. And I actually sometimes see my arborists who I'm friends with sometimes wearing their Arbor Day 2024 t-shirts, their safety colors, so they're good for crew arborists to wear. And it really just is a sign of goodwill and good faith that you actually really appreciated the work that those arborist crews donated. A lot of times people think arborists are just like tree killer evil people. And it's like these people love trees so much. They want to feel good about what they're doing. They want to be brought in. So if a company like Hartney Graymont or a company like, there's many Bartlett tree experts helped me plant the Liberty tree. Barrett Tree Service East. These are like some of the companies that we might work with, but we don't know. If they come out and they donate their time, that's a big cost to their business. And we want to make sure that we just have a memory that's tangible for people to say, hey, look, there's that Arbor Day 2025 t-shirt that those two arborists had, because we can only buy two of them if we get this grant. Um, but yeah, I've got these scopes of work. This one is $50,000 to do both fall and spring. So in my mind, like that is not a sorry, excuse my language, this is recorded. It's not a whole lot of money. Sorry, Rich. Um, but it is some money. This could be a lot of money for this is a lot of money for people in Lynn. This is a lot of money for a lot of people in the state. I'm trying to put this in front of people for whom this is not a lot of money and try to see like, hey, do you want to save the day? Save the season. This project will help you save the season. You want to send some volunteers? Great, we'll take them. Let's go to this school. We're going to plant, we're not just going to plant trees. We're going to get perennials and we're going to plant underneath the window at the school. We're going to teach the Roca kids how to do that. That's what we're going to do on Arbor Day, which is Good Friday, so we can't actually have our Arbor Day celebration on Arbor Day this year. We're going to have it on the Tuesday after. If any of you guys find yourselves in Lynn on 4/29, I would welcome you in the morning to come to the Bennett Street School to hear Mayor Nicholson talk about what we're going to be doing, because we're not going to back down. We're going to keep doing urban forestry. Quick shift over to the non-urban forestry. Um, we had a big fire. Now, fire is not something that Massachusetts is like terribly familiar with in terms of urban forestry. Very familiar with it in terms of the state level Bureau of Forest and Fire Control and Forestry. There's like 3 F's in there. I never get it right. Our state fire warden has actually been cropped out of this picture. Sorry, Dave, if you see this. But Dave Salino is our state fire warden. He's fantastic. And he made this report about the wildfire occurrence in fall of last year. You can see it was very high. These red dots, this pink one, the red dot is the Mount Gilead incident, which was our fire. And there's other red dots on this map. So where's Northampton? Up over here? I should know. More left? More lefter? More down? I don't know. We'll just you guys know where it is. I should know where it is, but
We have a
maybe
red dot too.
you're this one. You're this red dot down
No,
here?
no, no. It's more toward the middle where the Connecticut River is.
Oh, you got a pink one. So you had a fire that was between 6 and 99
No,
acres
not
this
that one.
fall?
Go. No, the
Up.
one that's up. There you go.
Yeah, right there, right there.
Right there. Okay,
Go
so you
down.
had two,
One of
you had
those.
at least 2 fires. Maybe, I don't know, maybe you count these ones, but you had one that was between 6 and 99 acres. That would be the
Mhm.
one that's more probably similar to this fire. This fire, this tree right here, if you look at this, this is not a tree many of you would walk under, I don't think,
Mhm.
with what you know about trees. We had about 150 trees where they were, white pines. These could be 80 feet tall, and they were burned. Uh, the fire coming towards the roads, the fire roads that we have through the woods, which stopped the fire and contained it in some ways. These were burned from that side. So you see the fires in this tree. This is a picture from Spence. He's a great photographer with the Daily Item, and I scooped this from his Instagram. So hopefully he's all right with that. But the fire approaches, it burns through the ground, it burns up the roots, and it burns those holding roots on the side away from the trail where you would need that tree to be stabilized so it doesn't fall onto the recreational pathway and road. So we really needed to do something about this. I mean, that this is over one of the main trails, and we have miles and miles of trails in this reservation. It is where people go to kind of escape the city, right? So we wanted to reopen the woods, and we needed to actually somehow safely put about 150 trees down on the ground. Now, those trees are down on the ground. So fire season this year, we need to think about that. So we just last Friday, we submitted a community wildfire protection plan application for about $130,000 to basically learn what to do and coordinate our responses to these fires, because the Linwoods has caught on fire every year for 3 years. We had a couple years where it didn't catch on fire, but we have a lot of human-caused ignitions. We think it might be due to a lack of community knowledge about fire. there's some areas in the Linwoods that have responded absolutely beautifully. Oaks love fire. So oak hickory forest, I mean, oaks really respond well to this. And we've got a little scrub oak pitch pine, like a little bit of a top on some of our higher elevation parts of the reservation that benefited from this. But we have about 16,000 acres of wildland urban interface and intermix around the Linwoods. That's why we need this plan. I would love to work on this plan. I am very excited by what I'm hearing from the state and seeing that people actually care about this. This was also a public health issue for all of the residents of Lynn. You could smell this fire. The air quality was very poor, and we do have houses going right up to the back of the woods all the way around. So I know people might have stuff they want to ask. I'm looking forward to getting to the questions part, but I would be absolutely remiss if I didn't talk about my young people. So um, hiring and paying, I know I said 20 on here. I upped that to 25 kind of somewhere along the way because I figured out a way that with this $72,000, which you can see as a strike through it, we were going to hire 25 kids and have them each create a research project that was going to directly inform our urban forest plan. And that's because I really believe that the youth are going to be what helps urban forestry here in Lynn. It's not going to be me. It's going to be the people who go through this kind of training program while they're making money for their families while they're in high school, getting exposed to the trade of arboriculture and being paid a living wage for the level that they're at. They were going to be paid $18 to $25 an hour for this. And we were only able to have one of them. She actually wasn't even paid through this $72,000. She was kind of she was a DPW worker who I was kind of like, hey, like she's in the Arbor program at Essex Tech. Can she come do some of her co-op hours with me to pilot my program? So this wasn't even one of our 25 actually. This was like our precursor student, Ava Ferlicciardi. She's 17 years old and she did 159 hours with me. You guys don't need to see the job descriptions, but just know that we created them, which was a lot of work, but we did do that and we were ready to launch this. This is the project that she did. She did a project on trees and mental health, and I've never seen anything like it. I mean, I don't know how many of you have seen a 17-year-old produce a project like this, but she wants to be a therapist when she gets older. She doesn't even want to be an arborist. And my thing is like, everything is about trees for me. So whatever they're interested in, we can make that about trees and they can grow in their career. We redid Ava's resume. We helped with her college applications a little bit. Like we really are looking at this holistically because it's not just about trees. It's also about people's livelihoods and their mental health. So she had this idea of prioritizing planting locations based on the crude prevalence of depression in the city, which is a fantastically creative idea. And she mapped the community. Well, I made the map, but she told me what to put on the map. The community health centers, she wanted My Brother's Table, which is a food pantry, to be focused on for some of this canopy restoration. And then she wanted to end up planting in some of these areas where people who are affected by mental health challenges, especially young people, where they're affected. She was very much involved with an organization called the Dirty Hands Project, which was formed after an Essex Tech senior took his own life in recent years. So his parents started a nonprofit. He left a note. He wanted people to get their hands dirty, plant more trees, and get outside. And so we were going to work with them in this program. And I think, that organization, just people being aware of that organization is important in itself. But I thought this project was incredible. This is posted on our website. This will inform our urban forest plan that we are going to write. So now public discussion, this is what I usually do is I say, okay, now it's public discussion and I usually make most of the meeting about people at the committee talking. Now this is our discussion from last time. So last month we talked a little bit about the federal funding. There's only so much I can say about that. I can't advocate for this program. I'm a public servant of the city of Lynn, so I really need to hear from people who live in Lynn about what they think about this. So that's what tomorrow night's meeting is going to be about, is them saying whatever they think. And they might come in and say, good, we don't want this, and that would be something that I would take into consideration and, write into the urban forest plan, basically, that not everyone wants this program. But you can see we talked about sidewalks quite a bit. There's a lot of sidewalk heaving conversation that's really important to people. And youth involvement is a huge goal of this program. So we've got the youth, kind of a plan for that that's ready to go. It's like a shovel-ready youth program if we can find funding for it. And then this sidewalks thing is a real need that people have brought up that we would need to additionally work on. We don't have all the solutions to this yet. So for this meeting, I am going to do one. So the white will be what you guys say, and the green will be kind of what I say. And then but I kind of have a couple extras. I'm like raising some trees. So luckily we're on Zoom, so you can like see them right here. These are part of those LL Bean like grow a tree for Christmas kits that you could get. And so this is Ava. She helped me do it. We followed the instructions, and this is where we're at. So we've got cotyledons, and this is kind of the parts of a tree. So we're at the or it's the part of certain types of trees. Gymnosperms basically have a lot of cotyledons, not just two. So multicotyledonous, if you want a new word for Scrabble. But we're at the epicotyl stage, so we're getting true leaves coming out. Our next meeting is tomorrow, so this is the QR code for that. I'm going to send these slides out. I don't know, you guys aren't learners, so it might not apply. And then our eighth meeting, we're having some fun with Canva, so we're making it cute. And then I always put my information. So I'm gonna stop sharing. I'm gonna go to the slides, or I didn't stop sharing. I'm gonna go to this slide. I'm basically gonna take some notes, but I really want to hear from you guys. What are your reactions to this? What advice do you have for me and for the city of Lynn? Those are my main questions, and I can repeat those if you need. And thank you for letting me speak. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. And the floor is open for discussion and Q&A from any and all.
Yeah, I was really impressed with the idea of the bringing the youth into the program, which is something we have not done here, but is just, I think, extremely important for the continuity of the work that we're doing. And these are the folks that are going to live with the trees, not us. So I commend the youth association there with your program. And in fact, perhaps we can get some advice from you as to how we can get more of that happening here.
Thank you for the comment. Yeah, it can be very difficult to start getting the youth involved because I think the youth now are very intimidated. They feel like they don't have a ton to offer. Sometimes they're made to feel that way, and they actually have a lot to offer. I'm a big believer that you can always learn from someone less experienced than you. They will always teach you something. Maybe most times more than someone who's more experienced than you, to be honest. I learned so much from having Ava, and she was only with me for like, yeah, 100 hours or so. So I think it's a very good idea, and I'm happy to share. I mean, my stuff is all just off the cuff, like, and it's, kind of things I pull from different places. So the curriculum that I have for the students, like ideas of what we could work on and how we could incorporate them. It partially benefits in Lynn from our lack of structure. So we are able to bring youth in because we have no formality to some of this stuff, which is different than a lot of communities. So each community, if you have formal voting and stuff, students are very intimidated by that. And it does take, you have to get someone kind of zany in to kind of be like, hey, I'm weird. You guys can feel cooler than me, so now you'll feel comfortable saying what you think.
That's great.
Yeah, I would second that, Rich. That's a really good point. I've been working with the environmental club at the high school to try to develop a pollinator planting plan and location on the high school hill. And have found, and Kent's been there as well. Thank you, Kent. I found the students to be very engaging, very thoughtful. They have a lot to offer. I have a lot to learn. But I really think the platform needs to be there. It needs to be inviting. And I think all of us, and maybe Sue, you could speak to this a little bit, but we've had some consistency with some youth groups that have come and done plantings with us. We've had consistency with environmental club students from the high school helping us with Arbor Day seedling, packaging. But I mean, it hasn't been like we haven't really developed, I think, a consistent, sustainable connection. And then there's the whole aspect of the aftercare of trees that Rich's and others, Tree Northampton, have really been working on, which is basically what we're talking about. Like we've planted these trees. We want to make a sustainable environment for them to live in. It's the same thing for young folks today. We have an environment around us. We are willing to actually make the investment presently, but we need the youth to the younger folks to create a sustainable roadmap to help us create a sustainable roadmap. So I think that I'm not advocating that the commission does more than we're already doing. I know we do a lot, but I really think that that needs to be sort of thought about in a little more depth than what we're doing.
And I'll just put in a plug that I really do. I've started a youth program at Mass Audubon before with some other staff at Mass Audubon. We started the Mass Climate Corps and we ran a cohort of 5. The two things I'll say are that it's not about the number of kids, it's about the impact on one kid. One kid is very important and they need to feel that you value them. So it often takes a full-time person or a half-time person to be their one-on-one mentor to get that engagement, because you can show up at a school and say a few words to a kid. They may be dealing with other things at home that you'll never know about. And, the consistent mentorship is very important. So I would say a youth program that's well executed would have a front runner who's very committed to kind of just that. You kind of can't fit that in as a side thing because the kids can feel that it's a side priority from the get-go. They're very perceptive.
I would suggest maybe considering I know Amherst for years has had a youth on their tree committee. I don't know if that's something Northampton could consider in some version, like some seat on the commission, that a youth seat or something like that. We have had youth, but sustainability is the key thing, where we'll get an environmental club and the student, through that little network, they'll plant a number of times in a season, and then the next season they're doing something else, so I see what you're saying about an actual person involved in the tree program that is devoted to continually rekindling relationships with young people season after season. We have Girl Scouts, we have different groups at Smith College, but they do fizzle out and then we start again. So it's not sustainable as folks age out of that era. We don't get like kind of the next crop or something, next cohort of people from the same place. Been a lot of different places with groups who come for a season.
When you paid them, did you write the grant to include that? Like, you front loaded that? That's the way you got the money to pay them? Because I think
Yes.
that's key. I think that's super key.
Yes, that was the intention, but that is part of the funding that has been terminated.
But
So we
yeah.
would then be kind of packaging that up as its own thing, and putting that in front of kind of workforce development opportunity grants that may arise from now.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
I'm familiar with Power Corps Boston. I did a lot of work when that was starting, and that was started based on Power Corps Philly. It was through like the Boston City Council was like very active in kind of writing. That was for ARPA funding, and they stood up that program. That's an $11 million program. That is not a tiny program. This program would be a more kind of homespun, we put $72,000 for the youth program in there. That was calculated by my supervisor before I came on to this. That number was arrived at. And it was calculated based on Mayor Nicholson's summer youth employment program. So that allows basically any kid in Lynn who wants a job for the summer, they can get a job with the city for the summer. And that is because that helps the families here with
Yeah.
survival. And we need that in this city. This city is very uniquely structured economically, I think, in terms of its population. So it really helps the kids. But we do see that we need mentors. We need more mentors for that program. And this program was going to bring a completely different level of assistance than that just kind of summer job. I mean, I really this is a fault of mine, but I really get invested in the kids. Like you could see, I don't care that Ava didn't want to be an arborist.
Mm.
we were going to find a way that trees are really important to Ava, and we found that and executed the project. So say I get a kid who's interested in accounting, I'm going to bring them right into my procurement. But that's just because we don't have staff even like really we're underfunded. So we don't have, staff that have assistance with that already. So I don't know what Northampton's community might be like. You may already have people who are very adept at doing those things, and you may have people like intern systems and things like that set up. But this funding was going to be to do and create something new and pay those students. But the $72,000 was all for student payments. That was not for my time as well. And I was trying to maximize, once I had that number, I was trying to maximize how many students can we have for that. So I worked with Lynn Public Schools. They have a career pathways person, and that's Marissa Angeli. Love her. She also works at North Shore Community College, so I've been able to present at that school as well. So it's important to not just think about like the youth as one thing. It's like, okay, when we're reaching high school students, what can they do? What can they benefit from? And what can we expect out of them? And then, a youth engagement coordinator or a youth urban forestry program coordinator position, that position can be critical for a college student. So if you guys have a UMass Amherst connection, a college student could fill a position like that and bring the type of energy that I'm bringing to something like that. We don't really have UMass Amherst like near here in Lynn, so it can be a little hard to find Arbor students. But Essex Tech, the trade high schools have been a good partner for us to try to form the idea of the program. Now, I don't know if this is too much detail, but I did not go with the every other 2 weeks, the Essex Tech co-op schedule, even though Ava was a co-op student, because for me as an urban forester, where this was not my only program, I would need the youth to be here on specific days for specific times. I need a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 11 to 4 for those kids, because I need that, because if I know when to expect them, I can serve them better. If I had just said like, yeah, they can just come in and do whatever, then I would not be providing the mentorship and the focus that they needed. It's kind of like, I mean, I don't have any kids, but I imagine it's kind of like having a kid of your own. It's like, I gotta show up for this person. So, I don't know, maybe Rich knows more about that.
Gotta show up every day. So yeah, it's very interesting, and your energy, Erica, is pretty amazing. And your positivity in the face of the funding, the contract cancellation is really impressive. And I hope Lynn is able to find a way to keep you in your role and also try to at least fund some of the initiatives that you have put forward. And I don't know, it's amazing just to listen to other folks that are kind of at the beginning stages of trying to map out their urban forestry master plan or roadmap. And there's still a lot of challenges. Like we've come a long way in Massachusetts. We're very fortunate, but there are a lot of challenges still. So my one of my questions I have for you, and I just want to be mindful of the time. The new tree pits that you were showing in your presentation, are those just standard tree pits with a standard soil mix in them, or is there any conversation of using any kind of structural soil or any kind or anything of that nature, or no?
Yeah, those 3 pits were on the Blossom Street extension, so that happened to be a street that had just been redone. It has no abutters, so it wasn't a tree request location. It was just a location that we could plant trees in very easily. So
Right.
we needed to not have a lot of barriers. Those tree pits had just been constructed. They were full of bricks and asphalt, and we planted into urban fill, basically. Not very much amendment. There was a lot of sand, there was a lot of crumbly concrete remains, and I was like, it's better to plant the tree and kind of turn this stuff over all by hand. I've got some more pictures that I could try to pull up after I finish answering this. Whether there's conversation about structural soils, yes, we had the Strawberry Brook watershed, which is a big flooding issue down the center of Lynn. We had a flooding plan done with that. So we are working with Weston and Sampson for design of tree pits on some of these ladder roads that we have off of Boston Street in Lynn. So basically the Strawberry Brook flows down south and then like, I don't know, how can I show you? Flows down like this, and we've got basically a neighborhood here where there's like ladder streets. So like there's streets that have like no trees on them every however far you space trees streets apart, which I should know because I'm in the planning department, so I should have learned that by now. But it's all variable distance, whatever. So we are talking and working with actually Ash McElhenney, who wrote the Planting for Resilience guide, who was a UMass Amherst. She's with Weston and Sampson now, and so she is actually our arborist working on this project in Lynn. So I'm like, nice. I feel so fortunate because she can kind of do those. We're estimating that that would be like 6 trees or 6 tree pits or something. Most of our tree pits do not look like that. That was a happenstance, like kind of a luck thing. I thank our DPW and our, whoever was involved on that. And that area is like on the way to our ferry. So you can get to Boston from Lynn via the ferry terminal, and it's very cheap. It's really awesome. And I highly recommend if you want to take a little vacation to go see like, Boston's urban forest and Lynn's urban forest, if that sounds like an appealing vacation to you. I love it. But maybe not everyone's cup of tea. You could do that and see some of the trees. We have conversations about structural soils. We definitely don't have funding for that. And in our DPW, I do believe our DPW workers could do FlexiPave and fix that sidewalk issue and pour their own. They would need someone who knows how to do that to train them. So I've been really trying to find a way to advocate maybe for the former tree warden of the year in Malden, Chris Rosa. I'm aware that he previously had a green infrastructure, like he's green infrastructure certified. I would love it if he could train my DPW like how to do this stuff. But the need is so high. I mean, our tree crew works so hard, and it's basically like one guy who got trained by a certified arborist, but we have no, like me and Jim MacArthur are the only two ISA certified arborists in Lynn. And then we have Susan Hamilton, who's an MCA who works at Save a Tree. But like that's it for this area in terms of like certified arborists who are doing urban forestry. So we're not at the level where we can approach structural soils as our first issue. We need to fix the standing dead street trees. We need to fix the empty tree pits. And I personally believe it's worth planting the tree now in a pit that's less suitable than you would ideally have because we need to get that tree started and then build the like that's how we build trust in community that we're actually doing something. And you can widen pits later. You can do things like that. Yeah, Molly.
I have a couple things. One is, does your high school there have a service requirement?
Oh, we have a public school like network. So Lynn Public Schools is many schools. I don't even know how many schools. I know Lynn English and Lynn Classical are our biggest high schools, but again, it's a lot of kids. It's 100,000 people, and that's
Hmm.
going up by a
Wow.
lot, very quick. And actually, one fact I know about our schools is that the most common language spoken is not English. We have like 53% English language is not their first language. So I there's no service requirement that I know of. I know Essex Tech has the co-op requirement, but there's like a couple kids from Lynn who are in Essex Tech. We do have Lynn Tech. Lynn Tech has no environmental science program or kind of program that's suitable for this. We're really well known for our fire academy and our police training and our kind of nursing and kind of esthetician stuff. That's more, and we've got a print shop in Lynn Tech, so it's more of that. There's not really a way for those Lynn Tech students to access arboriculture if they know they want to do arboriculture at that stage of their life, which is extremely rare. It would be very rare for you to know that you want to do what I do or what Rich does or what you guys do at that age. They can then get into Essex Tech. It becomes a very difficult, how do I get my kid to Essex Tech every day? Um, Lynn Public Schools like doesn't even have like a school bus like situation that I'm aware of, and I'm like, okay, so there's not like a lot of school buses like running on diesel or whatever, but kids are walking to school on hot streets, no trees. So I don't think there's a service requirement. I think it's a great idea, but again, I think it's something that we're not ready for yet. We can't ask that much of community members who wouldn't be getting paid for that. But my program would have maybe been a very excellent pilot into that of like, okay, we can pay these kids for this block every year, and they could come to expect that, and then you could maybe make it a requirement after that point. Good
I
idea.
have another idea slash suggestion, but maybe you've already done it. Has Lynn been participating in the municipal vulnerability program?
Yes, so MVP is what our Strawberry Brook, that is where those kind of bigger projects are coming from. And I would love to continue applying for MVP grants because I think that could be hugely instrumental in this. We're also looking, this week we were looking at Community One Stop. So like, I'm not afraid to go into any sector and make it about trees, you know? But I mean, and you know, that's it's not to the detriment of the other sector, but if we're doing housing, we can have trees. If we're doing transportation, we can have trees.
Yeah.
If we're doing um, public health, we have two big grants for public health right now through a different department. So then it becomes kind of an intergovernmental function, like let's collaborate on these and how can I work with the Department of Public Health and the DPW and the planning department. Planning department here in Lynn is new as well. So just to let you guys know, this department is 4 years old. This was a request of the constituents to have a planning department. So just in terms of like where we're at as a city, is we're a gateway city that has really been holding it together. And I think we do deserve some big investments. And it's not we did, it's we do. So you know, I'm trying to do everything I can to do some of these ideas. Why do you mention it? Do you guys have experience with MVP that's really that could help us out to know
Well,
about?
I know about MVP, not so much with forestry and trees, but just in general, climate resilience. And it seemed like that would be an avenue that you could, get some funding from, perhaps.
Great suggestion, yeah. And coastal city with flooding problems, I mean, that just sounds like MVP, right? Municipal vulnerability is something we have a lot. We have a very hardened coastline. I was just talking to the Northeastern University landscape ecology class, and I'm wondering, how much time do we have, Rich? 15?
Well, we have a few other items on our agenda.
Oh,
So we are
not 15.
not
We're over,
15.
aren't we?
Yes, we are.
Okay, well, in that case,
That's
I'll just
okay.
say, look at the website. I'll send the slides to Rich. I don't know, should I
I,
send them?
no, you sent them to me already, or did you update them?
I just have been updating them while we're talking because I like to
Okay.
do that. So,
So I didn't share the other slides. So if you want to send a new set of slides, I'll share it with the commission.
great. That sounds awesome. Thank you all so
Wait,
much. I
wait, one
really
more
appreciate
question,
it.
one more
Yeah,
question.
go ahead.
The community wildfire protection plan, um, is that like a template or something that people can use? Is that something we could develop somehow for Northampton?
The link is in the slides. So on the
Okay.
fire slide, you can look at that. If you know that term, Community Wildfire Protection Plan, if you just Google that, you will find a whole world that you did not know exist. That
Oh,
happened to me, and I was like, okay, now I'm time to go become a wildland firefighter.
hmm.
So you may get down a rabbit hole with that one, but community wildfire protection plans are something that there is a national cohesive strategy about how to create them and why and where. There are several in Massachusetts. One is in Dukes County, one is Cape Ann. I know that Alex Sherman in Springfield has mentioned it. I know that Blair Crane in Norfolk has mentioned wanting to learn more about this. So I think it's something that's kind of coming online after our fire season. The last thing I'll say, sorry, Rich, the last thing I'll say is that MEMA reported that there were 660 fires in the fall of last year. The average for that is 36 fires. So it's something that we should be aware of as people that deal with trees, which are made of wood, which then kind of can catch on fire. So it's worth looking into, see if it's right for your community, and then Dave Salino is going to be your guy.
Thanks so
Thank
much
you.
for talking to us. Your
Thank you.
energy is fantastic. It was really great. And if I think of anything, I'll pass along to Rich ideas that might be helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Erica, thank you very much for taking a little bit of your time. We appreciate it, and we'd love you to stay for the rest of the meeting, which there really isn't. There's only 15 minutes left, so. Um, but again, thank you very much, and I truly hope that Lynn finds a way to continue to secure your position, because what you've done in the short period of time that you've been there is absolutely amazing, and I think the other thing that's very super impressive is the stakeholders. So I think going forward, in the face of the uncertainty of future federal funding, I think the only way that we're going to continue to move forward is to create that public-private partnerships, which we have been fortunate to do in Northampton, and that's what I think has helped make this program sustainable. And I'm hoping that other communities that have diverse socioeconomic constituents and issues can find a way to do that as well. I just think that's super important. So thank you very much. Molly, do you have a question?
No, I was
Oh.
waving.
Okay. All right. Our next order of business is to sort of just talk a little bit about Arbor Day, spring planting, and setback initiative. So just a couple of we're not going to do all of those things. I'm just a couple of things is I don't want to speak for Jen, but Jen went out and did stake all the tree locations at JFK, and she can elaborate that a little more. But Tony called me today, and when Tony called me, I was like, "Oh no, we have to change something." And all he said was like, the 3 trees that are in the back of the school by the tennis courts, he said we just can't plant those right now because they are ripping up the tennis courts and the basketball court. Yeah,
Okay, I knew it was the basketball court, but
yeah, the tennis courts and everything. So the fences are coming down, the blacktops being completely
okay.
replaced, subgrades
Yeah,
being
yeah,
done
yeah,
over.
yeah.
So then he said we potentially could plant 3 trees on the parking lot side, where there is a tree belt there, where there's some junipers growing there. So if you're looking at the basketball court on the left-hand side, so that's going to actually have a brand new sort of a soil volume area with curbing like it is now, a little different configuration. So we will just have to think about finding a home for those 3 trees
Okay.
somewhere else in the landscape. I did get an email from Bob regarding the trees, and let me just find it. He acknowledged that he has everything to the tune of $3,677. So I am gonna send this acknowledgement off if everyone's okay with that, and then that way there he is telling us that he can deliver the week of the 12th. I
Do you
did.
want me to sorry, do you want me to just take out those 3 stakes that are back there when DigSafe comes, or?
Yeah, either that or I can, if you're not going there, I can go there tomorrow. I'm right around the corner. I can just go
Okay.
walk over there and pull them out.
Okay, that'd be great.
Okay.
Tom's working on the dig safes too. We did the
Yep.
tree tracker, the formulas yesterday.
He sent them to me already.
Oh, okay. So it'll have those
Yep.
3 in it.
Yep.
Yeah. That's
So,
all right.
and then the seedlings are also going to be coming that same week around the probably the 8th or 9th. So Jen, when they show up, I will make sure you're notified and we can get them to you.
Mhm.
Okay.
The tree
Yep.
whips.
Yes, tree whips. Yes, thank you for correcting
And
me.
I have the high school lined up to help us again, and he asked
Okay.
me to come into some of his classes to talk about the JFK planting. So
Okay.
hopefully we'll get some students.
Okay, perfect. And then I did order some supplies today. We are sort of the nice green buckets we have seem to have legs. So so I had to order more buckets, unfortunately, and ordered some more biochar containers, some more biochar, and we'll be taking a load of compost as well, bringing a load of compost in.
We could paint a poison symbol on the outside. Huh?
Do not touch. Danger. I had something I wanted to kind of bring up.
Sure.
I took one for the team. I went up to the pie bar and I managed through the pie bar to find somebody who had contact with the owner of that property, the yellow house next to the pie bar where they took the tree out.
Yeah.
They need time to mourn that tree. They don't want to have any planting done there. So that setback idea is out. The Christian Science reading room has not responded to me. So I'm suggesting that we find somewhere that's in the right of way. I know we wanted to highlight the setback program
Mhm.
or an Earth Day planting, but I don't see that coming together unless we have a setback already in motion that's we're ready to dig safe that we could do. I don't know if we really have anything like that. Um, but prominent location ideally for an Earth Day planting. Doesn't have to be decided here. Just putting that out,
Yeah.
following up from last meeting.
Okay. And then Sue, I want to apologize. I didn't respond to your text message because I was waiting. I did get the draft went back for the Rotary Club press release.
Yep, I saw. Thank you.
Yep. So
That's
we're
okay. I was wondering if we could have a quote from you because I think that that's just a recycled quote from me last year
uh,
that the Rotary is putting in the press release.
I think we'll reserve any quote from me will come from our own press release.
Okay. Yep.
So
I'll think about that. I'll be putting that together.
okay,
Actually, I'll try to get going this week on that.
okay, and
Rich,
yes,
could I ask, so Tony's point about those trees near the tennis court, those were supposed to be sweet gums, Jim?
Yes, yep.
So does that change affect the overall mix? Are you going to put those sweet gums or not?
I mean, what we'll do is plant them later, like plant it later.
Mhm.
It'll be instead of 31 trees, it'll be 28.
28.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I did when I was over there, Rich, I did see I don't think it'd be a big enough space for well, maybe for one sweet gum. You know the rec department building that's
yep,
a so there's like this little bump out that could take. I thought about it when you were talking about getting a magnolia. I was like, ooh, that'd be a good place for a magnolia. And then if you're facing the rec department trailer door, to the right, there's a pretty big spot that has a picnic table in it
yep.
that we could put a sweet gum there, but I don't know. I didn't know if we could, I didn't know if we had access to that basically.
The school, I would recommend that we move the stakes and put some stakes in the ground in a couple other places and then have Tony sort of take a look at it because where the trailer sits, everything belongs to the school department. So the trailer is just this the trailer is there, but the school department maintains the grounds all around the trailer. So if you want to move the stakes and to plant something over there, we should probably do it while we have the access to the Rotary Club folks.
Okay. We can talk offline about
Yes. Yep.
sake of
Yep. The other
meeting.
thing I was thinking too, if push came to shove, we could take the 3 trees and we could plant them at Spring Grove Cemetery.
I do have two places on Chestnut Street in Florence, or two spots in front of a house on Chestnut Street in Florence that were supposed to be sweet gums.
Is that
Right near the corner of Pine.
right where that funky looking pine tree with that very low leader goes over the fence? Yes. Yep.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
I know that.
Yep. Yep, that would be fine too. We could have a couple of folks just break off, or we could plant them on another day. It's fine. But
So I could put a stake over there by the rec department building
yes.
then.
Yep.
Because all right, so we could put the third sweet gum there.
Okay.
I
All
just
right.
think the other spot is too small for that big of a tree.
That's the Sweet Gum Moraine, right? That what
Correct. Yep.
yeah.
And for what it's worth, I feel like you could squeeze a sweet gum or two next to the white oaks, which are right next to the impoundment area. Maybe. I don't know. We could talk about
Mm, yeah, those are big trees.
Yep.
Yeah, let me think about it.
Sue, did probably hadn't had a discussion about tabling in front of City Hall? I know that because of your change in your
Oh, well, Molly stepped forward
okay,
and she's been in communication. Thank you so much, Molly.
thank
We're going
you.
to stage all the stuff um, at Molly's place, and it looks like her neighbor Stan is maybe going to help with the trailer to take everything down. Because, yeah, I can't say if I'll be available
Okay. All right.
But thank you again, Molly. And there was another person too who said, Rich Parrish, you said you'd help too.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you so much. So we'll
Yeah.
we'll maybe loop you in, Rich, to the emails about staging the
Yep.
stuff.
Yep.
Basically, 8-foot table, a couple of chairs,
Yep.
Okay.
coloring books,
Okay. And then
materials.
I
I can do
think
Saturday. Sorry.
that's okay. The mayor will probably come down on that Friday with a proclamation. I'm going to be around, and I don't think we've decided quite yet if we're planting some other location. We haven't got that far yet. A couple of tree plantings somewhere in the landscape on Arbor Day. I don't think we have talked about that. We still also
We haven't.
we haven't. We also need to probably touch base as well after the planting at JFK. Are we going to actually roll into our regular planting schedule going forward? And we also need to touch base about that. And maybe that's just an offline conversation to sort of see where we're at with locations, dig safes, etc. Okay. I did send the setback letter off for a little review. So I should hopefully hear back on that once before at our next meeting, which is going to be on the 2nd of April. So hopefully everyone can be here. That is also the meeting that I'm very hopeful that Carolyn will be able to attend to sort of talk about the SDO and some Q&A from the commissioners, the draft SDO, which I'll send you a link to where it is in the Urban Forestry Drive. Anything else that people would like to talk about before we have 3 minutes? Anything not
Oh, I had a thought that came to mind
Sure.
when Erica was talking is a couple years ago, David Starr, who's been involved with a lot of green initiatives around town, he was trying to revitalize a Kiwanis club in the high school. Does anybody have any contact with David Starr or the Kiwanis club?
I do.
You
I
do?
mean, it's called the Key Club in the
Oh,
high
Key
school.
Club.
Yeah.
Okay. They maybe would be a good youth connection for us.
Yeah, they're involved in things like the styrofoam recycling collection.
Yeah, they
And
host that.
they do that big toy exchange they have before Christmas
Right. And
at the
do
high
they do
school.
repair day too?
Um,
Repair day. You
it
take your
might be
broken lamp.
at the high school, but I'm not sure if the kids are involved in that. I'm not sure.
Hmm. So do you have a contact for them at all or?
Well, I just know David Starr because I'm on the
Oh,
reuse committee with him, and they're the ones that organize all those kind of activities.
so I don't
A
know.
couple years, a couple years ago, I went to the Club's meetings, and we just didn't get. I mean, that was that was before COVID, so there may
Yep.
be more, new people or a new advisor or whatever. I just didn't. We did not get any
Okay.
student. We didn't get any students from that, but it doesn't mean it's not worth pursuing. Yeah.
There's also an environmental club.
Do we have the contact? Who had been in
David,
touch? David.
David's in contact with both of those.
Okay.
You
As
have-
we
Yeah, and
go-
Dan Moylan, the teacher that I work with, I think he's the advisor to the environmental club.
Oh,
So
okay. Rich is talking about looking at, initial dates in terms of like what are we going to have dig saved and everything. Maybe as soon as we get those dates, we could share the Saturday dates with with the Key Club and with Dan Moylan and sort of put it out there and ask, what's the best way to do this from week to week? Because we are a week to week operation. It's kind of like Wednesday, we put out the call and we don't plant every single Saturday. So, It's not really possible to plan too far ahead. And another factor is we're doing small plantings too. So we can't take a big group of kids unless we plan it out way ahead.
Right. One other little thing, just before before this meeting, I sent an email out to the commission that has a link to the Google Doc or Google spreadsheet, for the Ryan Road potential planting sites. Jen and I were gonna talk about that, and Jen wanted to look at those sites to see if they were viable. So the spreadsheet is on the, it's in anyway, the email explains it, where to find it, and there's a link directly to it too. So I don't know, Jen, if you want to just go to those sites and look at them, or if you want me to come with you, we can talk about that later.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Any other business not anticipated by the chair? Arbor Day the month of April is coming very quickly, so hopefully we will have a healthy discussion at our next meeting about Arbor Day activities and other sort of loose ends that we sort of need to tie up along with the STO. So
Oh, also, one other little thing.
sure.
I copied down the links into a document, into just a Word doc about the community fire protection plans. So we don't have to go to the slideshow to get them. But I don't know if that's something that we would want to think about looking into, because I mean, if there is a fire, there goes a whole lot of trees, compared to the amount that we plant. Luckily, the fire that happened at Fitzgerald Lake didn't kill any trees. It was just a low-level fire, but there might be one in the future. It
Yeah,
might be a future topic.
I think it is a future topic. I was actually, not to sidetrack us, but I went and walked in the woods yesterday, and I was unpleasantly surprised at how dry it is, actually.
Yeah.
It was hard for me to believe that it was as dry as they were saying it was until I actually walked around in the places that typically are muddy, or there's,
Mhm.
it's ground, there was really nothing.
The vernal pools are really, really low.
They're very low, and the leaf duff and the leaf litter is very dry, which is, even off the beaten path. It's just kind of a little alarming, but
Yeah.
so I think it would be something interesting, something different, something we haven't focused our attention on. Definitely could come up for a topic at another meeting. So, anyone else? All right, could we get a motion to adjourn the meeting, please?
I move we adjourn.
Could we, is a second? Anyone, someone,
All right.
anything? Oh, look at that.
We all
Don't
do it
raise your
once.
hands at once. All right. Seeing so motion on the floor in a second. Any discussion? No discussion. All in favor? Thank you very much. It was great to see you all. Looking forward to seeing you next month. And we'll be in touch as needed. Thank you.